Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're embarking on a comprehensive literary appreciation of a truly massive, multi-genre anthology. We're talking about Videha Sadeha, 13. But we're not just going to give you a dry summary. No way. We're diving deep. We'll be using a rigorous question-and-answer approach to really interrogate the whole volume, asking the tough cultural, structural, and social questions about what's actually inside these pages.
Okay, before we even open the text itself, let's take a look at this striking yin-yang style fish logo. It's a powerful symbol of balance and duality, right? It visually anchors us in the deep-rooted cultural heritage of Maithili literature. Themes that, as you'll see, play out over and over across the hundreds of pages in this journal.
So, to navigate this beast of a volume, here is our agenda. We'll start with the anatomy of an anthology, move into editorials and cultural questions, explore prose reflecting modern society, look at the science of Maithili rhythm, touch on drama and poetic conflict, and finish up with a legacy moving forward.
Section 1. Anatomy of an Anthology. Unpacking the volume.
Rather than getting totally lost in a massive, overwhelming index, this breakdown perfectly illustrates the sheer structural ambition of the collection. It gives a voice to absolutely everything. You've got Vihan Katha, the longer stories, sitting right alongside Logokatha, the short stories. You've got rigorous critical essays, poetry, and even entirely dedicated sections for children's literature and drama. It's literally an entire literary ecosystem packed into one volume.
Section 2. Editorials and Cultural Questions, Interrogating Tradition.
This brings us to a highly provocative question posed directly by the editor, Gajendra Thakur, right at the very beginning of the volume. He absolutely doesn't shy away from the complex socio-political realities of the language. He just asks it point blank. Is Maithili literature fundamentally Brahminical in its core?
And Thakur's answer is fascinating. He says yes and no. Impartially analyzing the landscape, he neutrally observes the diverse cast profiles of writers, literary committees, and cultural festivals today. He notes that while traditional structures certainly exist, the modern reality of who is actually writing and participating is far more complex. It really sets a tone of deep, objective engagement for the rest of our explainer. Section 3. Prose. Reflecting Modern Society. So, let's ask our next core question. How exactly are the everyday realities, the changing gender dynamics, and the intense conflicts of the modern era captured by the authors featured in this text?
The volume answers this beautifully through its reviews of contemporary works. Take Sujit Kumar Jha's story collection, Zindagi. The journal highlights how it portrays shifting roles, like a woman becoming a station master through sheer determination, which directly challenges family conflicts and traditional expectations. Then on the other hand, you have Gorinov's novel Dog, which is a powerful exploration of the friction against oppressive cultural and caste norms. The prose here really acts as a mirror to progressive societal changes.
And what's really engaging here is the human element of literary criticism. For example, alongside a critique of Ganjesh Gunjan's monograph on Raj Kamal, the anthology doesn't just present dry, academic text. It engages directly with the authors. It creates this lively, sometimes heated conversation about the literature itself.
Section 4. The Science of Maithili Rhythm, Linguistic Preservation.
Now, moving beyond the stories themselves, we have to investigate the actual structural mechanics of the language. How is the precise mathematical rhythm of Maithili preserved and scientifically analyzed by its scholars?
Well, diving into Govind Jha's Maithili Chanda Shastra, the text meticulously compares the rules of short hrasva vowels against long dirgha vowels. The journal even gets into the granular debate over whether the Chandrabendu and Anuswara carry heavier linguistic weight as long vowels, or if they act as lighter short vowels. It's literally treating grammar as a hard science of cultural heritage.
By officially establishing these hrasva and dirgha categories on the page, the journal is essentially creating a definitive rulebook for future writers to follow.
And when we see a short vowel classified in actual praxis like this, it just proves the incredible analytical rigor present in this volume. They aren't just writing nice poetry, right? They are actively defining the underlying mathematical rhythm that makes the poetry function.
Section 5. Drama, Poetic Conflict, and Literary Events.
Taking a step back from the page for a second, the journal also documents how this literature lives out loud in the physical world. This schedule of the Samanvay 2012 festival, which was held at the India Habitat Center, is a great example. It demonstrates how Maithili literature actively participated in vibrant, national-level discussions right alongside other major Indian languages.
Returning to the text, we have to query the dramatic works in the Natya Utsav section. How do they physicalize these philosophical debates? When you put a story on a stage, how does that conflict actually play out?
The explainer points out a fascinating dramatic review where the god of death, Yamaraj, is completely isolated by elderly men. The text analyzes this as a really powerful allegory for the intense friction between accepted realities and hidden societal truths. On stage, the hero and villain aren't just characters, they become competing social realities.
Section 6. A legacy moving forward.
So, the absolutely crucial takeaway here is that Videha isn't just sitting around preserving the past. As documented in the journal, by digitizing 37 books in Darbhanga and translating major works, like the novel Sahasrabadni, into English as The Comet, they are aggressively pushing the language into the modern global era. They're making sure these stories and dramas outlive the physical paper they're printed on.
To wrap up our explainer today, I want to leave you with this final thought. An anthology like Videha 13 is a snapshot of a living, breathing language ecosystem. As Métis literature continues to evolve digitally and culturally, reaching new, global audiences, what new realities will the next generation of writers challenge us with? Keep that in mind as you explore the literature around you. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive.